My name is Lita Anderson. I'm 29 years old. At 2:14 a.m. on March 2nd, my own father called demanding $35,000 for my brother's third rehab stint. When I said no, his voice turned ice cold and he spat the words straight into my ear. Then the whole world will finally know what a worthless, lying, ungrateful disappointment you really are, and what you did in 2014. I hung up. 6 hours later, at 8:47 a.m., I posted the entire truth myself on Facebook and tagged both my parents. At 9:23 a.m., my mother had already commented, "Lita has always been the problem child. We sacrificed everything for this girl, and she still chooses to destroy our family with her lies and delusions." By 10:30 a.m., her comment had exploded with over 200 furious reactions. They thought that 12-year-old secret would silence me forever. They were dead wrong. That single morning, everything they built on lies came crashing down. Before I tell you exactly what happened in 2014 and how one Facebook post destroyed everything my parents had spent 12 years hiding, if this story is already hitting close to home for you, if you've ever been the scapegoat in your own family, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. And drop a comment telling me, where are you watching from right now and what time is it there? I read every single comment. Knowing I'm not alone in this makes all the difference. Now let me take you back to that night. The phone started vibrating at what my body registered as an ungodly hour. I fumbled for it in the dark of my Portland bedroom, saw the screen. Dad. The time showed 11:14 p.m. here on the West Coast, which meant it was 2:14 a.m. back in Ohio. My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever came at that hour. I almost didn't answer. My partner was asleep in the next room. The blue light from the phone screen made a cold rectangle on my bedroom wall. I'd blocked my mother's number 2 weeks ago after she'd texted demanding $5,000 for Caleb's medical bills. This was my father calling from his phone because they knew I'd blocked hers. I answered. Lita. Not honey, not sweetheart. Just my name. Flat and transactional. We need to talk about Caleb. It's almost midnight here, Dad. This can't wait. I could hear my mother's voice in the background, feeding him lines like a coach with an earpiece. Caleb had a setback. He needs inpatient treatment again. I sat up. My hand found the lamp, clicked it on. Again? He's struggling. The facility in Arizona can help him, but it's $35,000. Our savings are gone from the last 2 times. We need you to step up as family. Step up? As family? The words tasted like metal in my mouth, even though I hadn't spoken them. I don't have $35,000. You have a good job. He said it like an accusation, like the marketing coordinator position I'd worked 3 years to get was evidence against me. You can get a loan. This is family, Lita. I'd practiced this in therapy. Rehearsed it 100 times with my therapist in our sessions, learning to set boundaries without guilt. But knowing the words and saying them while your father's voice crackles through the line at midnight are different things. I can't do this anymore, Dad. Can't or won't. Both. 3 seconds of silence. I counted them. 1, 2, 3. Then his voice changed. The mask of fatherly concern dropped, and what came through was something else entirely. Something cold and sharp and deliberate. Then I think people should know the truth about 2014, about what you did, about who you really are. My mother's voice, no longer background noise. We protected you, Lita. Don't make us stop. Every muscle in my body went rigid. The threat hung in the air like smoke. 2014. The year I was 18. The year I took the fall for my brother's drunk driving accident. The year I pleaded guilty to a crime I didn't commit because my parents begged me to save Caleb's future. The year that stole mine. What I did? My voice came out steady. Steadier than I felt. Or, what you made me do. You made your choices, Lita. You'll live with them. Everyone will know what kind of person you really are, or... His voice shifted, became almost conversational. You can help your brother, like family does. I hung up. The timestamp on my phone read 2:19 a.m. Eastern, 11:19 p.m. my time. A 5-minute call that ended 12 years of silence. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I opened my laptop and started writing. I need to tell you about my family to make sense of what happened next, because none of this started on March 2nd at 2:14 a.m. It started the day I was born, 7 years after my brother Caleb. Caleb was the golden child. I don't mean that as a figure of speech. I mean that literally, functionally, he was the child who mattered. The one whose future was discussed at dinner tables, whose potential was praised, whose mistakes were softened into struggles and setbacks. My father, Daniel Anderson, owned a used car dealership in Westfield, Ohio, a small suburb outside Columbus where everyone knows everyone and reputation is currency. Anderson Auto Sales? The sign outside read, Anderson and Son, even though I worked summers there answering phones and filing paperwork. No, and daughter. When I asked about it at 12, my mother said, "When you're older, sweetie, let's focus on your brother first." Caleb was supposed to take over the business. That was the plan. He was groomed for it from the time he could walk, sitting in my father's office, learning about inventory, going to auto auctions, being called the heir by my father's friends. My mother posted about my brilliant son on Facebook constantly. I existed in the edges of family photos, slightly out of focus, always smaller, always younger, always less. The dealership started struggling after the 2012 recession. My father's pride wouldn't let him admit it, but the numbers were bad. Caleb was supposed to turn it around with fresh ideas and energy. The pressure on him was real. I'm not denying that. But pressure doesn't make someone drink and drive. That's a choice. The addiction started in 2012. Caleb hurt his shoulder playing intramural football, got prescribed OxyContin for the pain. By 2014, he was mixing pills and alcohol. My parents called it stress from the business. I called it what it was, addiction. But nobody wanted to hear that from the little sister. His first DUI happened in 2013, when I was 17 and he was 24. I remember because they made me lie to the insurance company about where the car had been that night. My mother coached me on what to say. My father hired a lawyer who got the charge reduced. Caleb promised to get help. My parents promised to make sure he did. He didn't. They didn't. By the summer of 2014, I'd learned my role in the family ecosystem. I was the one who stayed quiet, the one who didn't need anything, the one whose dreams could wait. I'd been accepted to Portland State University that April with a partial scholarship, $8,000 a year. I was excited. I was 18 and planning my future and talking about studying marketing and moving to the Pacific Northwest. My parents sat me down in May. The lawyer fees from Caleb's DUI had drained their savings. They couldn't afford to help with college. Community college is just as good, my mother said. And Portland is too far anyway. You should stay close to family. I went to community college. I turned down Portland State. I deferred the scholarship. I put the acceptance letter in a drawer and tried not to look at it. That was June 2014. July 2014 changed everything. The call came at 12:20 a.m. on July 20th. I was at home studying for community college placement tests, trying to convince myself this was fine, this was the plan, this was what family did. My mother's voice was hysterical. Caleb's been in an accident. Come to the house. Now. Don't tell anyone. Don't call anyone. Just come. I borrowed my friend Rachel's car. I still didn't have my license, kept failing the driving test, and drove the empty streets to my parents' house. On the way, I passed an accident scene on State Route 32. Police cars, ambulance, shattered glass catching red and blue lights, skid marks on the pavement, a damaged guardrail. I slowed down, looked, kept driving. When I got to the house at 12:45 a.m., Caleb was sitting at the kitchen table. His clothes were dirty, his hands were shaking, his eyes were unfocused, drunk or high or both. He wouldn't look at me, just stared at his hands, rocking slightly. My parents were standing. My father did the talking. Caleb hit someone. A woman. She's hurt. They took her to the hospital. The police will come because someone got the license plate number. Is she okay? I asked. She's alive. My mother's voice, tight and high. But Caleb, he can't do this again, Lita. You know he can't. Can't do what? My father put his hand on my shoulder, heavy, tight. He had a DUI last year. This is a hit and run with serious injury. He'll go to prison. 5 to 10 years minimum. I looked at Caleb. Still wouldn't meet my eyes. He didn't mean to, my mother said. He panicked. It was dark. He didn't realize how badly she was hurt until he got home. Where's the car? My father led me to the garage. Caleb's car sat there with a dented front bumper, broken headlight, scraped paint. Evidence. Proof. Crime. My mother followed us. You could say you were driving? The words hung in the air like a physical thing. I looked at her. At my father. At Caleb visible through the kitchen doorway, still staring at his hands. I wasn't even there. I was home studying. No one knows that yet, my father said. You could have borrowed the car. This is insane. This is family. My mother grabbed my arm. Think about his future. Think about our family. Think about the business. What happens to us if Caleb goes to prison? I was 18 years old. It was almost 1 a.m. I was terrified and confused, and they were my parents, and I believed them when they said they were trying to protect everyone. My father squeezed my shoulder. We'll make this right, Lita, I promise. We'll take care of you. Just this once. Just this once. I think about those 3 words a lot. I said yes. Not because I thought it was right, but because I was 18 and scared, and I believed them when they said, we'll protect you, and we'll make it right, and just this once. They coached me on the story. I borrowed Caleb's car to run to the store, hit something in the dark, thought it was debris in the road, panicked when I realized it might be serious, drove home, didn't know it was a person until later. They made me practice the statement 6 times. My mother wrote it on a yellow legal pad in her handwriting. The words seemed like debris, and I panicked, and I didn't know. The police arrived at 3:15 a.m. My hands were still shaking. They thought it was shock from the accident. It was shock from the lie I was about to tell. Our family attorney was a man named Arthur Bennett, 58 years old, handled my father's business contracts, had a photo on his desk of his 3 kids in graduation gowns. The irony wasn't lost on me even then. His children got their futures. I was giving mine away. I sat in his office on July 22nd, 3 days after the accident. He knew the real story. The email traffic would later prove it. But his job was damage control for the family. The victim is pressing charges, he said. We can get this down to reckless driving, leaving the scene, minimal jail time, probably probation if we play it right. I didn't do it. He looked at me over his reading glasses. I understand. But that's not the strategy we're pursuing, is it? Your father explained the situation. He CC'd me on the emails because I was his client, the defendant in the case. But his strategy memos were addressed to my father. I was copied as a courtesy. As documentation. One email sent the day I met with him read, strategy viable if Lita maintains consistency in statements. Victim's description conflicts but can be explained by trauma. Recommend we proceed with plea negotiation. The victim's name was Jennifer Walsh, 42 years old, middle school science teacher, broken collarbone, concussion, ongoing pain that would last years. She told police the driver was male, taller than her. She heard a male voice say, "Oh God," after the impact. She estimated the driver was around 6 feet tall. The police report noted the inconsistency. I read it later when I got my case file. There was a detective's note. Victim disoriented post-head injury, memory unreliable, defendant's confession more credible. I'm 5'4". Caleb is 6'1", but I had confessed. And in the legal system, a confession is gold. A victim's fuzzy memory after head trauma is not. On August 15, 2014, I stood in a courthouse and pleaded guilty to reckless driving and leaving the scene of an injury accident. The judge was kind. He told me I was young, that this didn't have to define me, that he was giving me a chance, because I'd accepted responsibility. He sentenced me to 6 months probation, an $8,500 fine plus restitution to the victim, and 200 hours of community service. My lawyer had framed me as a troubled youth from a struggling family stress, poor judgment, deep remorse. Everyone in that courtroom looked at me with pity, the judge, the prosecutor, the court staff. My parents sat behind me, relieved, already calculating how quickly they could rebuild Caleb's image. Caleb wasn't at the hearing. Too traumatic for him to attend, my mother had said. I signed the papers. I accepted the conviction. I became, in the eyes of the law and everyone who knew me, the troubled Anderson daughter who'd made a terrible mistake. The judge thanked me for taking responsibility. I'd never felt more powerless in my life. The probation officer meetings, the community service at the hospital. Ironic, since the victim was still recovering. The whispers in our small town. That Anderson girl. Did you hear what she did? Such a shame. My parents controlled the narrative. Lita made a mistake. We're helping her learn from it. We're supporting her through this difficult time. My mother told neighbors at church, it's been so hard, but we're standing by her. Caleb got promoted to sales manager at Anderson Auto Sales in 2016. His DUI was expunged from his record after he completed a first offender program. Clean slate for him. Meanwhile, I was filling out job applications with the question, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Yes. 17 job rejections. Some didn't even call me for an interview after the background check. One did interview me, seemed interested, then said, we're going in a different direction, after they ran my record. I went to therapy, paid for it myself from my retail job earnings, worked through the shame, the anger, the sense that I'd been used. My therapist helped me see the pattern: golden child and scapegoat, parentification, coercive control. In November 2015, my probation ended. I was 19. I asked my parents about making things right like they'd promised. I recorded that conversation. Ohio is a one-party consent state. I had every legal right to record my own conversations. I did it because something in me was starting to realize they had no intention of ever telling the truth. The recording is 2 minutes and 34 seconds long. You can hear Jeopardy playing on the TV in the background. My mother's voice distant, calling that dinner would be ready in 10 minutes. My probation ended, I said. You said when it was over, we'd make things right. When are we going to tell the truth? Lita, we did make it right. You're done with probation, clean slate. But people still think What people think doesn't matter. What matters is family. We protected you. We gave you a chance to move on. You said we'd tell the truth eventually. The truth is complicated. You made a choice to help your brother. That was noble. We're proud of you for that. But bringing it up now helps no one. Caleb's doing well at the dealership. Why would we ruin that? What about my life? Your life is fine. You just need to stop dwelling on the past. We'll always take care of you, but you need to let this go. I saved that recording, backed it up 3 different ways. I was 19 years old and starting to understand that "we'll take care of you" meant "we'll control you." By 2018, I'd had enough. I got a job offer in Portland, Oregon. Marketing coordinator position, decent salary. The company was willing to overlook my criminal record after I explained it as a youthful mistake. I didn't tell them the full truth. I just needed out. I moved in August 2019. 23 years old, packing my life into a U-Haul truck, driving 2,300 miles across the country. My parents were concerned. I was running away from my problems. 2 weeks after I arrived in Portland, Caleb went to rehab for the first time. $32,000 for a 30-day inpatient program. My mother called me crying. "How can you leave when Caleb needs family support? He's in treatment and you're across the country being selfish." I didn't send money. I sent a card that said, "Wishing you well in your recovery. I built a life in Portland. Good job. Good relationship. Continued therapy. Set boundaries. Calls once a month. Visits once a year at Christmas only." Every time I set a boundary, my parents brought up 2014. Christmas 2020. "Remember, we stood by you in 2014 when things were hard. Family is everything. That's why we need you to understand about Caleb." The invisible leash stretched 2,300 miles. Caleb's second rehab came in 2021, $36,000. I said no to their request for help. My father sent an email. "After everything we did for you." I started systematically saving emails after that. Created a folder on my computer, insurance, because that's what it was. Insurance for the day they pushed too far. I had the attorney emails from 2014. I'd been CC'd as the client, so they were in my files all along. I had the recording from 2015. I had my case documents. I had the police report with Jennifer Walsh's statement about the male driver. I had my Portland State acceptance letter. I had the job rejection emails. I backed everything up. Cloud storage, external hard drive. Email forwarded to a separate account. I was preparing for something I didn't yet know was coming. February 2026. The calls started again. Small amounts first. $2,000 for Caleb's sober living facility, then $5,000 for medical bills. I said no each time. My mother texted on February 28th. "We need $5,000 for Caleb's sober living facility. His insurance won't cover it." I replied, "I can't keep doing this." "Can't? Or won't? After everything we sacrificed for you? I'm done with this conversation. You owe this family, Lita. Don't forget what we did for you." I blocked her number, which is why they called from my father's phone at 2:14 a.m. on March 2nd. I wrote for 6 hours, from 11:19 p.m. on March 1st until 5:30 a.m. on March 2nd Portland time. That's 2:19 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern. I wrote the whole story, every detail. Names, dates, places, amounts, the accident, the pressure, the plea deal, the promises they made and broke, the 12 years of using it against me. The phone call from hours ago, my father's threat, their demand for $35,000. I kept my tone factual, clinical almost. I deleted anything that sounded like I was begging for sympathy or raging at injustice. Just facts. Just truth. Just what happened. 1,847 words. My partner woke up at 6:30 a.m. my time and found me at my laptop, coffee cold beside me, face illuminated by the screen. "Are you sure about this?" they asked. "I've been sure since I was 18. I just didn't know it yet." I read it one more time at 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. back in Ohio. Ohio would be fully awake now. Monday morning, People checking Facebook over breakfast. I opened Facebook, set the post to public, tagged my father, Daniel Anderson, tagged my mother, Catherine Anderson, hovered my finger over the post button. I thought about 18-year-old me, sitting in that kitchen at 1 in the morning, being told this was what family does. I thought about the yellow legal pad with my mother's handwriting. I thought about the acceptance letter in the drawer. I thought about 17 job rejections. I thought about 12 years of remember what we did for you. I clicked post. 8:47 a.m. Eastern Time, March 3rd, 2026. I closed my laptop. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline, from something that felt like freedom. I went for a walk. Portland was barely awake, the morning light soft and gray. I got tea from the corner coffee shop and sat by the window watching the city wake up. Normal Monday for everyone else. For me, the day everything changed. I turned my phone notifications back on at 9:15 a.m. Eastern. 83 notifications. It had started. The first comment was from a high school friend I hadn't talked to in years. "Oh my God, Lita. I always wondered about this. I'm so sorry." At 9:23 a.m., my mother commented. I watched it appear in real time, sitting in that Portland coffee shop with my phone in my hand. Lita has always been the problem child. We sacrificed everything for this girl, and she still chooses to destroy our family with her lies and delusions. This is what happens when someone refuses to take responsibility for their own choices and blames everyone else. We love you, Lita, but this is cruel and false. I read it twice. The "we love you" at the end. The weapon disguised as concern. The gaslighting wrapped in parental authority. Exactly what I'd predicted she would do. Deny. Attack. Reverse victim and offender. Within 5 minutes, her comment had 30 angry reactions. By 10 o'clock, 150. The comments under her response started appearing. "Ma'am, this response is not the defense you think it is." Calling someone troubled for telling the truth is textbook Darvo. "We love you but" is not love. It's control. "I believe Lita." Your response literally proves her point. The internet in 2026 is therapy literate. People recognize manipulation patterns. They see gaslighting. They know what Darvo means: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. At 10:04 a.m., someone commented on my original post, "OP, do you have any proof of what you're saying? Not doubting you, just would love to see receipts if you're comfortable sharing." I typed my response at 10:08 a.m. Yes, I have proof. I have emails from the family attorney discussing their strategy to have me take the plea. I have a recording of a conversation with my father from 2015. I have the original police report showing the victim's statement that the driver was male. I have witness statements from people who knew I didn't have a car in 2014. I will share all of it at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 4 hours. I gave everyone 4 hours to see the claim before I showed the evidence. Let them form their own opinions. Let my parents sweat. At 10:45 a.m., my father called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Take it down right now, Lita. I'm calling the lawyer. This is defamation. This is slander. Take it down." I saved the voicemail, added it to the evidence file. By 10:30 a.m., my mother's comment had 200 angry reactions, 12 likes, probably from older relatives who hadn't read carefully, or family friends who defaulted to believing parents. The ratio was devastating. She tried to bury me. She buried herself. At 2 p.m. exactly, I posted the first document. 6 screenshots of an email thread. From Arthur Bennett, attorney at law, to Daniel Anderson. CC, Lita Anderson. Subject, Strategy for Anderson Matter. Dates, July 21st to 23rd, 2014. The first email, sent July 21st at 3:47 p.m. Daniel spoke with prosecutor this afternoon. The victim's description creates minor inconsistency. States driver was male, taller. But given Lita's confession and victim's head injury, we can frame this as disoriented memory. If Lita maintains her account consistently, we have strong position for plea negotiation. Her clean record is significant asset. Suggest we proceed this route rather than risk trial. Caleb's prior DUI would be devastating in court. AB, the lawyer's letterhead, the date stamp, the clinical language. Asset. Strategy. Devastating. I added a note. Arthur Bennett was our family attorney. He knew I wasn't driving. I was CC'd on these emails because I was his client in the case. But as you can see, the strategy discussions were with my father about how to protect my brother. I kept these emails. I was 18 and thought having documentation meant they'd eventually make it right, like they promised. The second email, July 23rd. Lita has agreed to cooperate. She understands this protects the family. Moving forward with plea strategy, we'll contact prosecutor tomorrow to discuss terms. The comments exploded. This is evidence of conspiracy. She was a child. They manipulated a child. The lawyer knew. The lawyer knew. At 2:15 p.m., I posted the audio file. 2 minutes, 34 seconds. November 2015. My voice at 19 asking when we'd tell the truth. My father's voice telling me to let it go. Jeopardy in the background. My mother calling about dinner. The mundane setting of manipulation. I added context. This conversation was recorded November 2015. Ohio is a one-party consent state. I had every legal right to record my own conversations. I recorded it because I was starting to realize they had no intention of making it right. I was 19 and beginning to understand I'd been used. People listened to the whole thing. The comments, "This is chilling. We'll always take care of you," while refusing to clear her name is disgusting. You can hear the gaslighting happening in real time. At 2:45 p.m., I posted documents. My plea agreement from August 2014, showing I pleaded guilty. Personal information redacted, but the charges clear. The sentence clear. The signature, mine, clear. An excerpt from the police report. Victim states driver exited vehicle briefly, said "Oh God" in male voice, appeared tall, victim is 5 feet 6 inches, estimates driver 6 feet or taller. Then re-entered vehicle and fled scene. Victim suffered head injury, may affect memory reliability. My Portland State acceptance letter from April 2014, before the accident. Scholarship offer. The future I gave up. Email from July 2016. Employer rescinding job offer. After careful consideration and completion of background screening, we regret to inform you that we cannot proceed with your employment at this time. I added, I'm 5 feet 4 inches. My brother Caleb is 6 feet 1 inch. The victim told police the driver was male and tall. That information is in the official police report. But because I confessed, they dismissed her statement as unreliable due to head injury. I kept all of this documentation because some part of me always knew I'd need it. Someone found Caleb's LinkedIn within minutes, posted a screenshot. Sales manager, Anderson Auto Sales. So he gets to have a career and she had job offers rejected? Caleb's Facebook went private at 2:52 p.m. Too late. Screenshots were everywhere. At 3:15 p.m., a new voice entered the conversation. Jennifer Walsh. The victim, now 54 years old. Her profile showed a middle school science teacher, Columbus area, with a photo of her and students at a science fair. She posted her own comment on my original thread. My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm the woman who was injured in the hit-and-run accident in July 2014. I've lived with chronic pain and memory issues from that night ever since. When this case went to court, I was confused because I told police repeatedly that the driver was male. I heard his voice clearly when he got out of the car and saw he was significantly taller than me. I'm 5 feet 6 inches, and the driver was at least 6 inches taller. When I saw Lita Anderson in court, a small teenage girl, I knew something was wrong. I told my attorney I had doubts, but Lita had already confessed, the case was closed, and I was recovering from a concussion. I didn't have the energy to fight a closed case, and my insurance company wanted a quick settlement. I've regretted not pushing harder for 12 years. Lita, I believe you. I've always known something was wrong with that case. I'm grateful you finally told the truth. If there's anything I can do to help set the record straight, I will. The victim herself? The woman my brother hit. Validating my story. The comments. The victim believes her. She's been carrying this guilt and it wasn't even hers to carry. This is why you always believe victims when they say something's wrong. A local news outlet commented 15 minutes later. Columbus NBC affiliate here. We'd like to speak with both Ms. Anderson and Ms. Walsh for a story. Please DM us if willing. The share count climbed. 3,000 at 4 p.m., 7,000 by 5 p.m., 12,000 by 6 p.m. Anderson Auto Sales' Google reviews started flooding. The rating dropped from 4.2 stars to 3.1 by mid-afternoon, 2.1 by evening. Sample reviews. These people forced their 18-year-old daughter to take the fall for their son's DUI hit-and-run, then used that confession to manipulate her for 12 years. I will never support a business owned by people who would do that to their own child. Disgusting. Family-owned business? More like family-destroying business. The evidence is public. They sacrificed their daughter to save their son. People were tagging the dealership's Facebook page, calling, emailing. At 6 p.m., the family attorney Arthur Bennett's office called my phone 6 times. I blocked the number. But the witnesses weren't done. At 4:30 p.m., Rachel Cooper posted. My best friend from high school. We'd lost touch after I moved to Portland, but she still lived in Cleveland, worked as a nurse. I'm Rachel Cooper. Lita Anderson and I were best friends our senior year of high school and stayed close through 2015. I need to say something I should have said 12 years ago. Lita did not have a car in July 2014. She didn't even have her driver's license yet. She failed the driving test twice and was planning to retake it in August. She rode to school with me every single day. The idea that she was driving that night is physically impossible. When this all happened in 2014, I was 18 and confused. The police never contacted me. When I asked Lita if her lawyer knew she couldn't drive, she told me it's being handled and asked me not to get involved. I thought the adults would do the right thing. I trusted the legal system. I was wrong. I should have spoken up anyway. I'm speaking up now. Lita Anderson was not driving that car. I've known this for 12 years, and I will testify to it under oath if needed. I'm so sorry, Lita. I should have been braver. Within 30 minutes, 3 more high school classmates commented confirming they remembered I didn't drive. The evidence was piling up from people who had nothing to gain from lying. At 5 p.m., Mrs. Eleanor Brennan commented, my former guidance counselor, now retired. I was Lita Anderson's guidance counselor during her senior year, 2013 to 2014. She was an excellent student, 3.8 GPA, accepted to Portland State University with partial scholarship. In April 2014, she was excited about college, making plans, talking about her future in marketing. When school started again in September 2014, everything had changed. She deferred her enrollment. She seemed defeated, withdrawn. She dropped out of extracurriculars. When I asked what happened, she said, I made a mistake over the summer and now I have to live with it. When I pushed, she said, it's a family matter, and shut down. I wish I'd pushed harder. I wish I'd asked more questions. I'm sorry, Lita. I should have protected you better. I believe you now, and I'm furious that I didn't see what was happening. You deserved better from all of us. The institutional voice. An educator admitting she'd failed to protect me. The comments under her post were supportive but angry. Angry at a system that dismisses teenagers. Angry at adults who don't ask harder questions. At 6:30 p.m., the bombshell dropped. Amy Richardson. A name I vaguely remembered. Caleb's ex-girlfriend from 2013 to 2015. Her profile said she was a licensed clinical social worker in Cincinnati now. She posted, "My name is Amy Richardson. I dated Caleb Anderson from fall 2013 through spring 2015. I need to share something I've carried for 11 years. In March 2015, Caleb got very drunk at a party. When I was driving him home, he started crying and said, 'Lita saved my ass. She took the fall for me. I should have gone to prison, but she did it instead. She's the good one and I'm the fuck-up, and they still love me more.' I was 21 and didn't fully understand what he meant. When I brought it up the next day when he was sober, he got angry and told me I'd misheard him and to never bring that up again. I pushed once more and he exploded, screaming, throwing things. I was scared. We broke up 2 weeks later. I'm seeing Lita's post now and everything makes horrible sense. Caleb told me himself that Lita took the blame for him. I'm so sorry I didn't come forward sooner. I was young and intimidated. I'm a social worker now. I understand trauma and manipulation now in ways I didn't at 21. Lita, I believe you because your brother told me the truth himself. If you need me to provide a statement, I will." The perpetrator's own confession. Witnessed, documented, now public. The comments were explosive. He admitted it. This is a confession from the actual perpetrator. "Amy, you're incredibly brave for coming forward." By 7 p.m., former neighbors were posting too. "We lived next door to the Andersons 2012 to 2016. That night in July 2014, we heard the commotion around 3 a.m. Police cars, saw Caleb's car in the driveway with front damage. We were told Lita had borrowed it. But we'd lived there 2 years and never once saw Lita drive that car. We minded our own business. Small town, you know. I wish we hadn't." Another. "I lived 3 houses down. Caleb was known in the neighborhood for driving erratically late at night. We'd complained about it to the HOA twice. The idea that Lita was driving his car that night seemed strange even then, but we believed what we were told. The small-town code of silence was breaking. Not because I asked, because the truth made sense and the lie never had. By 8 p.m., over 30 people had corroborated parts of my story. Jennifer Walsh, Rachel Cooper, Mrs. Brennan, Amy Richardson, high school classmates, former neighbors, each one adding a piece. Not one person had publicly defended my parents. 2 elderly relatives had posted praying for the family and gotten ratioed immediately with, "Pray for Lita. She's the victim." March 4th. Morning. I woke up in Portland to texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. Messages of support. Strangers thanking me for my courage. News outlets requesting interviews. Back in Ohio, Anderson Auto Sales was being review-bombed. The Google rating, 1.8 stars. Over 200 new 1-star reviews posted in 36 hours. I will never support a business owned by people who sacrificed their daughter to protect their son. The family values business that has no values. I bought a car here in 2022. Wish I'd known then what I know now. A competing dealership in the area posted on their Facebook. At Miller Auto Group, we believe in integrity, accountability, and treating family with respect. We're offering $500 over trade-in value for anyone reconsidering their vehicle purchase options. Subtle, strategic, effective. March 5th, local Columbus News ran the story. Woman claims she took fall for brother's crime 12 years ago. Evidence and witnesses emerge. They interviewed Jennifer Walsh by video. Contacted me. I provided a written statement but declined on-camera interview. Reached out to my parents for comment. My parents declined. Arthur Bennett's office issued a statement. We have no comment on client matters. The news segment showed my Facebook post, showed the documents, showed Jennifer Walsh saying, "I've always known something was wrong." The reporter. Police say they are reviewing the case, though the statute of limitations may prevent new charges. Questions remain about attorney Arthur Bennett's role in the 2014 plea arrangement. By March 5th evening, my parents had deleted their Facebook accounts. Caleb stayed private. Anderson Auto Sales posted a sign, "Temporarily closed for inventory." Everyone knew it wasn't temporary. Their silence was louder than any defense could have been. On March 4th at 11:32 a.m., I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. When I opened it, I realized it was Caleb. He must have gotten a new phone or was texting from someone else's. 2 words. "I'm sorry." I stared at those words for a long time. Thought about responding. Thought about asking what he was sorry for specifically. Sorry for driving drunk? Sorry for hitting Jennifer Walsh? Sorry for letting me take the fall? Sorry for 12 years of silence? Sorry for the career I lost? Sorry for the life I gave up? I didn't respond. I took a screenshot and posted it without commentary. Let people interpret it however they wanted. Some apologies come too late. Some apologies don't change anything. This was both. My employer in Portland never mentioned it. It was personal, not professional, and 2,300 miles of distance meant the Ohio story stayed in Ohio for work purposes. I appreciated that. My extended family mostly stayed silent. Some probably believed my parents' version despite the evidence. Others reached out privately with support but wouldn't speak publicly. Small-town politics, family loyalty, fear of being associated with the scandal. I understood. I didn't need them. On March 8th, I had a consultation with an attorney about possible civil claims, fraud, coercion, intentional infliction of emotional distress, defamation based on my mother's public comment. Statute of limitations complicated things, but my mother's 2026 comment created new potential claims. "Whatever you decide," the attorney said, "you've already won. The truth is public. That matters more than any lawsuit." He was right. I didn't need money from them. They didn't have much anyway. The dealership was failing. They'd spent everything on Caleb's addiction treatment. But I wanted the legal system to acknowledge what they did. I wanted it on record that this wasn't helping family. It was coercion of a minor for criminal conspiracy. I'm still deciding. On March 9th, Jennifer Walsh reached out to me privately through Facebook Messenger. "If you pursue legal action, I'll testify. You gave me the courage to speak my truth too. Thank you." I wrote back. "Thank you for believing me. Thank you for speaking up. I'm sorry for what my brother did to you." She replied, "You didn't do it. You don't have to apologize for him." But I did anyway. Because someone should have 12 years ago. I blocked my parents' numbers, blocked their emails, set up filters, no contact policy. If they want to reach me, they'll need to go through lawyers. Caleb's apology text got no response and no acknowledgement beyond the screenshot. I'm not interested in his guilt. His guilt doesn't give me back the Portland State Scholarship. It doesn't give me back the jobs I didn't get. It doesn't give me back the 12 years I spent carrying shame that wasn't mine. People keep asking if I'll ever forgive them. I don't know. Maybe. But I don't think forgiveness is required for healing. I'm not carrying their guilt anymore. I'm not managing their shame. I'm not responsible for their redemption. An apology doesn't erase 12 years. It doesn't rewrite my criminal record. It doesn't undo the damage. I don't need to forgive them to move forward. I just needed to stop carrying their lie. I did that. On March 10th, my friend Rachel texted, "Saw you're trending on TikTok now. Therapists are using your story to explain scapegoating and family systems. You helped a lot of people. I'm so proud of you. I hadn't intended that. But I'm not sorry it happened. My story has been shared over 45,000 times as of today. My mother's comment has become a case study in what not to say when your child tells the truth. Therapists are breaking down the Darvo tactics. Legal professionals are discussing coercion and false confessions. Domestic violence advocates are talking about financial abuse and control. Anderson Auto Sales might not survive this. My father might lose the business he spent 40 years building. Caleb might face questions about his past that he can't answer. My mother might lose the social standing she valued so much. I feel nothing about that. Not satisfaction, not guilt. Just nothing. Their consequences are their own. I turn 30 in 3 weeks. April 2026. A decade marker that feels significant. My 20s were spent recovering from what happened when I was 18. Working through the trauma, building boundaries, creating a life 2,300 miles away from the people who hurt me. Learning that family isn't supposed to feel like a trap. But my 30s? Those are mine. No one else's. Just mine. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know if I'll pursue legal action or just let this be enough. I don't know if my parents will ever actually apologize or if they'll spend the rest of their lives believing they did nothing wrong. I don't know if Caleb will ever truly understand what he cost me. I don't know if I'll ever fully shake the feeling that I'm the troubled daughter, even though I know the truth now. But I know this. I don't have to carry their story anymore. For 12 years, they held my past hostage. They used my sacrifice as currency. They wielded my silence as proof of their power. When they threatened to expose me, they forgot something crucial. I'd already paid the price for the truth. I had nothing left to lose. They did. I didn't destroy my family. I freed myself from their story. I took back the narrative they stole when I was 18 years old and terrified, and believed them when they said, "Just this once." That's not revenge. That's clarity. The story belongs to me now, not to them. The world knows what happened in 2014, not the version my parents crafted, but the truth. The victim knows I wasn't the one who hit her. My high school friends know I couldn't have been driving. The lawyer's emails prove the conspiracy. The recording proves the gaslighting. The witnesses prove I'm not lying. I have my evidence. I have my truth. I have my life back. And for the first time since I was 18 years old, I get to decide what my life means. Not them. Me. I'm sitting at my desk in my Portland apartment right now. The rain stopped an hour ago, and sun is breaking through the clouds. That specific Pacific Northwest light that makes everything look clean and new. I can hear the city outside. A bus stopping at the corner. Someone's music playing. People living their normal Monday lives. My journal is open in front of me. I've been writing this all down, not for anyone else, but for me. So I remember. So I don't forget what it took to get here. I close the journal. Look at the blank page that comes next. Ready for whatever comes. My story to write. My choices to make. My future to build. The phone buzzes. A text from my partner. Dinner at 7? I'm making that pasta you like. I text back. Perfect. Normal. Simple. Mine. I stand up from my desk. Stretch. Look out the window at Portland waking up fully now, the afternoon light golden and warm. My life. My story. My truth. Finally.